Welcome to the channel. What we're gonna do in this video is I'm gonna show you everything that I cooked at my last smoke. I took a day and decided I'm gonna smoke a whole bunch of food. The reason being, my parents are going on their boat to the Bahamas, and my mom came and asked me, would you please make me some barbecue that I can vacuum seal and take to the Bahamas with me? And I thought, absolutely, let's go. So I started with making my own rub. I used 3 parts salt, 1 part paprika, 1 part coriander, and then I will use that on all the meat I'm going to do today. And then I do coarse black pepper all by itself. I don't mix it in with my rub. That way I can control it and put the rub on all myself. So here's me making the video. I will show you the ingredients and they will not show up because I don't hold long enough. This is the paprika that I'm adding in. Again, it's 3 parts to 1 each of the other parts. So 3 parts salt, 1 part paprika, 1 part coriander. Fun fact I found out this week is that paprika is made from a red pepper. It is dried and crushed up red pepper, and I did not know that. So I'm kind of tempted to make my own paprika. I'm wondering, do you know that that is where paprika comes from? That is dried red pepper. Let me know if I'm crazy that I didn't know that, but it was the first I heard of it. Now I take it all, combine it all in this bowl, shake it all up. I'm going to show you a close-up video of that right now where I shake it up, and that is going to be my rub that I'm going to use on this bad boy right here. I got a brisket from Costco. In fact, all the meat I got today is from Costco. This one I'm going to do a basic trim. You can watch any barbecue video and any barbecue channel anywhere and see how to trim. I'm taking off the mohawk here, cutting down the fat to about 1/4 inch, trying to make it nice and aerodynamic so nothing will burn up in the smoker. In just a moment, I'll round off all the edges. This one had a pretty thick fat cap, that's why I had to work on it a bunch. And I started using a slicer to trim my briskets, and I think I'm really into it. I like how they work when you're trimming up a brisket like this. So it works really nice. There's my mom who's going to the Bahamas. She was leaving, going to the boat to do some work. And I got that all trimmed up. Now using that seasoning on all sides, everywhere, top and bottom, and the sides, trying to get it everywhere. And here's the black pepper. I'm using the one from Costco. The next thing that we are going to record is one that I haven't found very often: beef short ribs at Costco. And what I learned was they have all of their large cuts before processed in the back. You can ask them and they'll give you a price on it and you can buy it. So I absolutely said, yes, I'll take one. Now with beef short ribs, there is a layer of silver skin on the top that I want to get rid of. So I'm going to trim down this fat and then I'm going to cut off this silver skin. That way every bite that you take from these beef short ribs is amazing and delicious, and you're not biting through some chewy membrane. And this is what it looks like, all trimmed up and ready for seasoning. I'm going to use the same seasoning as before. I'm going to score the backside of it. And I'm going to add one other seasoning called strawberries out of the Midwest. This just gives it a little bit of heat, and I don't use much on it, and it was amazing. And this is what they look like, all seasoned up, ready for the smoker. I'm going to cook these completely unwrapped all the way until they're probe tender all the way through it. And lastly, I'm going to cook bone out pork butts or pork shoulders, whichever you like to call them, from Costco. I'm going to use 3 seasoning on them. That's the strawberries that I mentioned before. I'm going to use Trader Joe's citrusy garlic. It's their Cuban seasoning. And then I'm going to use the coarse black pepper again. And this combo on pork has turned out amazing every single time. So I recommend this. You can get the strawberries on Amazon. You can get the other one from Trader Joe's, and it is incredible. And this is it all seasoned up, going to the smoker. Now I'm going to give you a behind the scenes look of what takes place when people are cooking barbecue. Most people don't think about this, but you're using really large cutting boards, a lot of giant meat sometimes, and it can get real messy and you got to clean it. So cleaning it outside I have found to be the easiest way. Our sink is not the largest sink in the world, so it's much easier to come out here, clean everything up, get it put back together. And then also, you know, you got the trash that people don't realize as you're making these videos and as you're cooking barbecue. You've got bags of meat and all the juices that are in there. You got to throw that away. And then you got a table that you've got covered in seasoning, and you've got to come out here and wash it and clean it all. So this is what it looks like when you're cooking barbecue. You've got to come and clean everything and scrub it. And so we just get the hose out, spray it down, scrub it down, and then it's much easier to clean up this way than doing it all inside. So I recommend getting one of these folding tables, getting, just some Dawn dish soap and a rag and going to town, scrubbing it all down and then washing it off, and it makes life so much easier than doing it inside. And that's just my personal opinion. If you would like to disagree with me, go ahead, let me know in the comments. Do you think doing it outside is easier or harder? Now we're a few hours into this cook. You can see we're developing a nice bark. The meat is starting to pull back from the bones on the beef ribs. You see the meat beginning to sweat here. This is a good sign we're on a good track. And I'm also rendering down all the tallow that I will use later when I wrap up the brisket. And now we're gonna wrap up these pork butts. When I'm cooking a pork butt, I am not cooking it on the smoker all the way to temperature. I am trying to develop a bark on it, and then once I get a bark, I'm gonna wrap them up in 2 pieces of foil. You'll see I'm gonna do 4 sheets right here, and I cross them. So the first one I put down one way, and I turn and put the next one down. Then I'll do the same thing on top of this. That way I'll wrap up one, all of my foil is ready to go. I don't have to move around or change. I go ahead and prepare it before I pull the pork butts off, and then I'm ready to go once they are on. I also use the gloves you see here. These are cloth gloves with black rubber gloves, and they work really well keeping all of the juices off of the cloth gloves, and the cloth gloves make it to where you can grab hot food without it burning your hands. I used to watch barbecue videos a long time ago, and I only saw the black gloves and didn't know there was cloth underneath, and it would burn my hands every time I pulled a piece of meat off. And I was like, how are people doing this? And shout out to my buddy Ben with Duval Smoke. He asked me, do I have any of the cloth gloves underneath, and I didn't know what he was talking about, and thankfully he helped me. This was a long time ago, but everyone's got to learn somewhere, and that's how I learned. So now I'm going to pull the pork butts off. You got to be careful with this too, because they will fly away on you if you're not quick, if the wind starts blowing. But I wrap up one way, you'll see here, and I try to get it as tight as I can to hold all those juices in. I want it to bathe in its own juices. And then I will fold up the other way, and I do not flip it over. I keep it all the same direction going up. That way, if juices do leak out of the first one, they will stay in the other one and not leak out. Then I'll put it in a pan too, so if it does leak out, it's not that big of a deal. It's gonna be shredded in all of its juices later, but I try to keep it all in nice and tight. That way it holds everything together. And I do the same thing with the other one, as you see here. Now I will take these pork butts and I will put them in a preheated oven of 315 degrees until they are 205 degrees. Now look at this brisket. I was so excited seeing the bark develop, and I wanted to show it off a little bit, as you can see there. With the pork butts, they're going to go in the oven 315 degrees all the way until they are 205 degrees, probe tender, and then I will put them down to a holding temperature of 170 and use those the next day to shred them up to eat them. And now we're on to everyone's favorite. That is the brisket. It is time to wrap the brisket. I'm using butcher paper to do that. I will tear off 2 pieces of butcher paper. You can see about how long I will do each of them. Now you got to be careful with these because they will fly away if it is windy at all. So be careful not to let that happen. But I use 2 overlapping butcher papers, as you see here, and I'll use the foil or the butcher paper block to hold down the paper. I also could have flipped over the paper so the curl went down instead of up, but I didn't think about it while I was doing it. And then I'll throw my gloves back on and I will pull out this brisket. The first thing I'm going to do when I'm going to wrap the brisket after I get my paper ready is I'm going to take some of this rendered tallow. That's the beef fat from all the trimmings. I'm going to pour it. I'm going to put my brisket right on top of that tallow that I pour on the butcher paper. And then when I go to wrap it, I am going to try to wrap it as tightly as I can. But before that, I'm going to pour some more beef tallow, that liquid gold goodness, all over the top of that brisket, and then we will wrap it in this butcher paper, wrapping it as tightly as I can. And that's how you do a beautiful little meat Christmas wrapping package that we will open in just a few more hours to eat that delicious food. All right, these beef ribs are probe tender everywhere on it. I do not cook these things to a temperature. I go by feel and by probe tenderness all the way in every area of the beef rib. And as I start to cut this, I realize, oh my goodness, these things are fall off the bone. I'm talking, it comes right, look at this right here. I mean, just slides right out. Delicious, perfectly cooked. In my opinion, I want this thing fall apart goodness. It's like burnt ends in every single bite. It is absolutely incredible. I'll take it and chop it up into some little bite-sized pieces and give it the old college try. Here it goes. Oh, yes. That is a glorious bite of barbecue. Now it's time to open up this brisket cook and see how we did. It turned out absolutely delicious. Here's what that outside bark looks like. It is juicy from all of that juice in there. One thing I do with my briskets is I will cook them on the smoker just like you saw. Then I go and I put them, pour that beef tallow all over top of it. Yes, please. I then go and put them in a heated oven and let them rest overnight. So this is the next day that we are eating this brisket. So I cook pork and brisket the day before we actually are going to have them. And then I will put them in the oven at the lowest temperature setting you can get on your oven. Mine is 170. Some of them you can adjust to 150. Do a long rest, take it out and slice it the next day, and you get this beautiful, juicy piece of meat. I mean, it's dripping all in there. That is absolutely incredible. I wanted to just eat the whole thing right there in that one big bite. But now I'm going to slice it up and check out how the cook turned out. And honestly, this was a beautiful brisket that tasted absolutely incredible. This was the first time that I've made this seasoning that you saw earlier in the video. Doing the bend test, holds up on there, pulls right apart, and I'm telling you, this thing was tender, it was juicy, but the flavor from that really simple rub that we made of the salt, paprika, and coriander, then finishing it with black pepper, turned out amazing. I did an SPG rub last time on my last brisket, and the garlic powder that I used kind of gave it a weird taste at the end of it. This one was not the case at all. It tasted perfect. It was delicious. I highly recommend trying this way to cook it. I mean, it was absolutely incredible. What you're going to see in the next few minutes here of me slicing this brisket and eating it over and over and over again is my little happy dances, because it turned out so good. You know, when you go and you smoke a piece of meat and you spend now 2 days making it, you're always somewhat nervous of, is this going to turn out? I've spent money and time creating this work of art, hoping that it will bless your family and your friends that you get to eat with. And there's always this moment of, oh, I hope I did it right. And I'm telling you, this is the way to do it. It is perfect. It is delicious. Check out these burnt ends we have here that just melt as you squeeze them together. I mean, it just comes right apart. It was absolutely incredible. So I encourage anyone to get out, start smoking meat. You'll mess up at first, everybody does, but over time you'll be in to create incredible food for your friends and your family to enjoy. This is one of my hobbies that I absolutely love doing. I love cooking barbecue. It makes me slow down and appreciate life. That you can't just rush through barbecue. You got to take your time. It is an art form. And this is a piece of the point meat. I mean, it's going to hold up on its own as well. You'll see it all drippy here as I'm holding it for you. The camera focuses on it. It's just dripping juice. Has a nice render on the fat. It's got a little yellowing that you want. Pulls right apart. This is a great piece of meat for you and your friends and your family to go and enjoy.
Mm-hmm.
And now we have the pork butts. I wrapped them in foil as we saw before, finished them in the oven. I finished these in the oven at 315 degrees all the way until probe tender, and it's reaching 205 internally. And then I let them rest in a heated oven just like the brisket at the same temperature, 170. And look at this, it just pulls right apart with your hands. It is juicy, it is delicious. This is a very easy way to prepare if you're going to have a great dinner with a lot of friends coming over the next day. You've got a family event, you've got people that you want to impress but don't want to have it all to do it all that same day. This is a great way to do it the day in advance. Have it ready to go. I mean, look at this. It's juicy, it's tender, it's super easy to do. I highly recommend this way of cooking your pork butts. Thanks for watching this cooking video. Consider subscribing to the channel to follow along, and we will see you in the next video.